I would like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Council here in the Council Chamber. Can I ask everyone present not to talk amongst themselves during the meeting, as this can be very distracting for others who are listening to the debate. There should be no hot drinks in the chamber and water only in lidded containers, please. Can I also ask everyone to ensure any mobile devices are switched to silent and do not cause a distraction during the meeting. I would like to remind members that where they are able to, they are required to stand when addressing the meeting. We aren't expecting a fire alarm tonight, but if one should occur, please follow the officers out of the building to the assembly point on Manchester Road. The meeting is being live streamed, and I would like to welcome those watching on the Council's YouTube channel. Please remember that viewers at home are not able to hear you speak if you do not use your microphone. Let us all remember to treat members of the public, elected members and officers with respect throughout the meeting, as set out in the Code of Conduct for members. Item 1 on the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of May 2025. I will move those minutes. Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second those minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second these minutes.
All those in favour say aye. Aye. Anyone against?
She did, yeah.
Item 2 on the agenda, declaration of interest, or then declarations of interest. Item 3, Mayor's communication. On the 15th of August 2025, Burnley Council will mark victory in Japan 3J Day with a service in the Peace Gardens from 10:30 a.m. From 11:30 a.m, you are invited to join veterans and youngsters for refreshments at Downtown Cafe. Young people have been invited to bring military-themed toys to chat with the people who use them in real life. Item 4 on the agenda, public question time.
Mr. Mayor, I understand a right to speak was received by a member of the public, but the member of the public did not complete the prescribed form with the relevant information despite being reminded to do so. So we don't have a right to speak today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Item 5 on the agenda, motions to council. Once a motion has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. Item 5, they may then only speak again on an amendment. Item 5A, to rescind
I have a point of order, Mr. Mayor, regarding motions on notice that I'd like to put in before it actually is moved and seconded. Basically, my declaration of what it refers to is Rule 15.1 of a motion to rescind a previous decision demands signatures as per CPR 15.1, not just names on a piece of paper. I have asked for sight of the document from the monitoring officers to ensure compliance with Rule 15.1. I haven't been able to get that. I have been provided with the date and times of emails that were provided, but it doesn't provide a notice of motion that actually, I believe, fulfills Rule 15.1, that basically says here is a notice of motion and here are all the signatures associated with it. And I think everybody would agree that you've not just got to comply with the Constitution, you've got to be seen to comply with the Constitution, which I think is lacking in this case. I would also question this motion under Rule 11, motions on notice. Clearly within CPR 11, it says notice will be entered into a book for public inspection. This has not happened in respect of the electronic motions book on the council website. All motions put before this council on notice have been added to that electronic motions book since September 2021, but not this one for some reason, and I don't know why. So it's clear to me that there are grounds on both Rule 15.1 and 11 to defer this motion until it is published in a form that can make it fully transparent that all constitutional conditions for a motion to rescind a decision have been fully complied with. To do otherwise will set a precedence that the Council may live to regret. Adherence to the Constitution has to be seen to be done. It's not just good enough to say it has been done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want me to answer? Mr. Mayor, I would like to give an explanation to Councillor Townsend in relation to this matter. He and I have already been in correspondence today, and I believe I have satisfied him that as the monitoring officer, I'm satisfied that both the provisions of CPR 15.1 and indeed those of CPR 11 have been complied with. If I deal firstly with CPR Rule 11, which is the requirement to enter motions of notice in the motions book, I confirm that the motion has been entered into the paper copy of the motions book, which is held in the Democracy Office, and that is the copy which I forwarded to Councillor Townsend either earlier on today or yesterday. In relation to CPR 15, which requires a motion to be signed, I have already explained to Councillor Townsend that every member who confirmed that they wanted the motion to be rescinded provided an email with their name and email address to both the mover of the motion and to me as monitoring officer, and I am satisfied that that complies with the requirement for a signature. He will also be familiar with the fact that when we require motions of notice under CPR 11, there's also a requirement for a signature, but in those circumstances we always accept an email with the relevant member's name and address on it. So in short, Mr. Mayor, I am satisfied that the rules of CPR 15 and 11 have been complied with in this case. This motion is a cross-party motion and has been brought about by the requirements of Lancashire County Council. And in those circumstances, I don't see any reason why you cannot accept this motion, but it is your final decision. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with the motion. So, item 5A to be...
Sorry, just need to clarify that point of order has not been accepted.
and I need to clarify the point of order has not been accepted. So, item 5A, to rescind the previous decision under CPR 15, pages 21 to 22. Councillor Anwar, will you please move the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the motion, and just to provide a little bit of context in terms of why this motion has arrived here, is that we have received a request from the Police Crown Commissioner's Office informing us that although we did make a decision on making a nomination at the last meeting, that the makeup of the panel, the Police Crown Commissioner's panel, is not democratically representative of the makeup of Lancashire, and there's no independent representation on there. So although we made a decision at last full council, this came in afterwards and the request came in afterwards, which is why it's been brought back to full council for us to rescind that original decision. And this is not anything against the original member who was put on there. It's just so that what we all want to see is that democratic representation on the panel itself, so that the Police Crime Commissioner's Office can be held to account by a cross-representation of all members from all political groupings. So that's the reason for it. With regards to the decision being made, and I thank the officer for providing that information, this was actually discussed at member structures at length, and it was also agreed at member structures that an email would suffice in terms of requests and all of those, in terms of my request that was sent out for people to sign electronically, that was all those names, the 15 I think was the required number, were received prior to 5 o'clock on the Friday before the deadline. So I would like to move the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just take Councillor Anwar's first point about the discussion we had at Member Structures Working Group as well. In terms of the discussion we had at Member Structures Working Group about an electronic or an email placement of the motion, my understanding was that it would be an electronic copy of a motion with 15 signatures on it. Obviously, it's been done different to that because when we've done this in the past, and I know Councillor Baker challenged the similar decision in 2019 when something had been put in. But basically, it's all about basically a motion having signatures on it, which in this case I thought that's what we'd agreed to, that there would be 15 signatures on a piece of paper with a motion at the top, and that would be sent into basically the monitoring officer, which obviously it's been done in a different way to that, and it's probably something we should address at member structures in the future. Coming to the substance of the actual motion itself, I'm not sure if Councillor Anwar is aware, but this is not the first time we've had such a request to try and balance the police and crime panel at the Blackburn with Darwen administer. We've had such requests over a number of years, and it's not just particular to Burnley, a number of requests that go to other councils as well to try and level it up. But there are different ways of getting the political balance. This council always in the past has said, we've provided you with the best person for the job, and they are basically staying, unless you can show us that your other councils are going to make the same approach. So my challenge really to Councillor Anwar, or question at this point, is basically 3 councils have to change their nomination. I think we can take from tonight that the leadership of the council are proposing we change this council's. Have you got any information about the other councils that have been asked? Are they rolling over in the same way to say we will change our nomination because you've simply asked us? And can I point out to Councillor Anwar, the way this has been addressed in the past, and Councillor Whittaker will be aware of this from his time on it last year, is that the political balance has sometimes been achieved by adding co-opted members onto the panel. Last year, the panel was short of a Conservative, a Green and an Independent. Councils didn't change their nominations. Basically, 3 additional councillors were co-opted on. Lancaster, Wyre and Fylde all got an additional representative on the body last year to make sure that it became politically balanced. Now, if we'd have had a bit of, fight about this, we wouldn't just be changing our representative, we'd be arguing, yes, okay, we've got a really good person that's already on the panel, let's keep them there, but we'll put a co-opted independent or a co-opted Conservative on. And we could have had 2 representatives on there. But we seem to have put the white flag up and just said, you've asked us, we'll do what you say. But I'd like to know how many other councils are going down that road as well, as part of Councillor Anwar's response to this. Because I think with Mr Trick here, and Burnley is going to be diminished for it as a representative on that panel. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any other member? Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to put on record the position of the Conservative group, we also saw that Lancashire Police and Crown panel was overrepresented by the Labour Party, and therefore all councils were asked to put on switch and put on an independent, which is why you will see some of our councillors on this motion. I did make the point, and I reached out to Councillor Brown, who has the nomination as it currently stands, and I said at the time you'd make a good addition to the panel. I said it's nothing personal, it's just we've got to go for a political balance on it. And to be fair, I take the point that Councillor Townsend has just said, but that's new information that or you can just add on, and whether that would redress the balance or not is open to scrutiny. So I think the position that we're at right now is quite a sensible one. Nothing against Councillor Brown, but that's where we're at. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any other member? Councillor Anwar, you have the right to reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As I said, I've explained the reasons for it. It's nothing personal against Councillor Brown in terms of the original decision that was made. A request has been made, and I think Councillor Townsend is talking about things that have happened in the past, but he needs to stop living in the past and get in the now in terms of where we are. The bottom line is what we've seen is the county council election results, the way that they've played out has led to an imbalance, but the Labour grouping has still got a much heavier representation on the panel itself. That is undemocratic, and all we're trying to do is redress that balance. It's nothing personal. A request has been made. As for other councils, what they're doing, what I'm interested in is what Burnley Council are doing, and Burnley Council's approach, I believe, is a sensible one. In terms of adding co-opted members, that is something that if Councillor Townsend wishes to do that, we can still do that. But we would like to make a nomination from the independent group on behalf of this council, and I believe the nomination that we've got is somebody who will represent Burnley well. So, and I'm hoping that members will support that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
We will now move to the vote. All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Are there any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 6A. So, item 6, item for decision by council. Thank you. Can I point out to members that items for decision by council are treated as motions? Once a proposal has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. They may then only speak again on an amendment. 6A, constitutional reporting, amendments and appointments. Members, a finalised version of the nomination table at paragraph 41 was published today as a supplement to the agenda. Councillor Anwar, will you please move the report and Burnley Independent nominations.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report and Burnley Independent Group nominations. Thank you.
Councillor Lubna Khan, will you please second the report and nominations?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second the report and the nominations.
Councillor Townsend, will you move the Labour Group nominations?
I so move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Graham, will you second those?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second that. Thank you.
Councillor McGowan, will you move the Conservative Group nomination?
I move that motion. I move that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Steele, will you second that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I second that.
Councillor Lorna, will you move the Green Group nominations?
I move the Green Group nominations, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hurt, will you second that?
I second that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Baker, will you move the Liberal Democrat Group nomination?
I move the nominations, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Margaret Lishman, will you second that?
Second the nomination, Mr Mayor.
Any member? We will deal firstly with the waivers of quorum which are for noting. Any members? They are noted. We will now deal with constitutional amendments and change in length of appointment to Town Board. We will deal with the appointment separately. Any member? All those in favour of the recommendations are paragraph 6 and 7 of the report, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you, those recommendations are approved. We will now deal with the appointments to the Development Control and Licensing Committee, along with the Police and Crime Panel, only as set out in the updated nominations table circulated. All those in favour of the nominations as set out in the final paragraph 41, please show. All those against, please show.
Point of order, Mr Mayor.
Point of order, can you just please explain what happened there? I'm not quite sure what we were doing.
Can you? Do you want me to read out those again then? So these ones here. But those ones here, we now, pardon?
The development control and licensing come along with the crime management. So basically it's just 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
So this, you're just moving.
Okay, it's just on the table.
So one we can do that.
Just repeat what you just said.
So, sorry about that, councillors. So, I'll be clearer then. We will now deal with the appointments to the Development Control and Licensing Committee, along with the Police and Crime Panel, only as set out in the updated nominations table circulated. Do you understand that then?
Mr Mayor, would you like me to clarify
Can
the
you
position?
please, yeah?
I think what members are voting on, if you look at paragraph 41 of the report, please also look at the supplement as well because there's a slight amendment. On development control, Councillor Hosker has been asked to be removed and replaced with Councillor Joanne Broughton. On licensing, Councillor Hosker has been asked to be removed and replaced with Councillor Hall. And then on the Police and Crime Panel, Councillor Brown to be removed and to be replaced with, is it Councillor Kazmi, if I'm correct? Councillor Nusrat Kazmi, I believe. So that is so just bear with me, Councillor Townsend. That is what's being asked to be voted on. So.
Yes.
Well, a point of order, Mr Mayor. Because Councillor Brown, the decision to rescind the decision about Councillor Brown has been made, we would resubmit the nomination for Councillor Brown at this point, which surely we should be allowed to do. I just assume because it's written in the update that it's there. So Councillor Brown is a nomination for the Police and Crime Panel.
So we'll do the licensing committee and development control committee first.
Yeah.
Just take that out.
And then we'll do...
Yeah.
Take that out.
Okay.
All right, just say it without the ones along with it.
So, councillors, can we will now deal with the appointments to the Development Control and Licensing Committee only as set out on updated nominations table circulated. All those in favour of the nominations as set out in the final paragraph 41, please show. All decent licensing. All those against, please show.
I just need to ask, have you got an alternative nomination for Police and Crime Panel?
So, has Councillor Townsend, have you got an alternative nomination for the Police and Crime Panel?
I've got the nomination as per the report that's been put out. Councillor Brown's name is there. It's been removed if motion 5A is successful, but we're putting it back. It's still there.
Mr. Mayor, I think an important point is just being it's probably not very clear in the report, but bearing in mind a decision has been taken by full council. A decision has just been taken by full council earlier on in the agenda to rescind the nomination of Councillor Brown. So unless that's been represented as a nomination from the Labour group, there is no nomination to the Police and Crime Panel from the Labour group. Am I correct, Catherine, on that?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I've got to object to that, Mr. Mayor, because basically we do have a nomination. Normally what would happen if somebody resigned from a panel or a committee tonight, it would be basically noted and then it would be sent back to groups to decide on a nomination. Basically what we've decided by rescinding Councillor Brown, forgive me if I'm wrong, we've rescinded the decision, the position is now vacant and therefore it's open to nominations. I've made a nomination. It's there on the report.
Sorry, Councillor Townsend, but you haven't made a nomination from my knowledge. You've said you've only challenged the position. If you would like to make a nomination, then we're more than happy to take it at the meeting.
But would you like to make a nomination, Councillor?
Well, yes, I would. I thought I'd already made one because Councillor Brown's name is already on basically the supplement that was put out today. The fact that it's not in bold alongside Councillor Casmi's name, I think is irrelevant. It's just there. The nomination is there. Thank you.
All those in favour of...
I move nomination for Councillor Brown if I need to, and Councillor Graham will second.
So can we take all those in favour of Councillor Brown to the Police and Crime Panel?
So all those in favour of Councillor Brown to the Police and Crime Panel, please show.
Point of order. I do believe nobody seconded that. So
I
must have missed it then in all of Councillor Townsend's ramblings.
All those in favour of Councillor Brown again?
Yeah.
All those in favour of Councillor Brown, please show. All those against.
No. All those in favour of Councillor Casmi.
All those in favour of Councillor Casmi, please show. Councillor Nusrat Casmi is appointed to the Police and Crime Commission panel.
You're all right.
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Take your time, it's not good. That's more.
No, no, but I'm not.
Right, so yeah,
So are we...
so we're on to moving on to the appointment of trustee. And Burnley Leisure, there you are.
Yep.
Yeah.
So sorry about that, everybody. Moving on to the appointment of the trustee onto the Burnley Leisure and Culture Board, we have 3 nominations for one place as set out in paragraph 41. If there is not a clear majority for one candidate after the first round of voting, the nominee with the lowest number of votes will be eliminated and another vote taken in line with Council Procedure Rule 16.6 until there is a majority of votes for one person. We will now move to the vote. Please keep your hands up until democracy have indicated that they have had time to count the number of votes. All in favour of Councillor Alan Lewis, please show. All in favour of Councillor Shah Hussain, please show. All in favour, Councillor Jackie Inkle, please show. Councillor Inkle is appointed as trustee of Burnley Leisure Board for 2 years. Outside you still.
Yeah, yeah.
Item 6B.
Sorry, again, point of order, Mr. Mayor. I thought what happened in these votes was the person with the least number of votes dropped out until a full majority of the council was a majority of the council voted for something. Did she? Yeah. Well, the vote wasn't announced. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if a majority of the council voted.
Councillor Townsend, there was a majority for. Item 6B, on-site youth zone with amendments. The relevant executive minutes have been published as a supplement. Councillor Anwar, will you please move the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move the report, and in do so, just say a few words as well. I think one of the things that's clear, and this right across the board in this chamber that people agree on, is that our desire for a youth zone for the young people of Burnley. And what we're seeing is that right across the county and up and down the country, we're seeing provision for young people in their areas, and it just feels like that the services for young people in Burnley have been taken away by previous, various different administrations, and youth services have been decimated. This is an opportunity for us to make a real lasting impact on youth services for our young people and investing in their future. And the report sets out that what we would be looking at doing is having getting to a position where we've got a shovel-ready scheme that should funding come forward, that we can apply for that and make the youth zone a reality for the young people of Burnley. So I would urge all members across the chamber from all political groupings to support this report. So I move, Mr. Mayor.
Second the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And just to echo some of the words that Councillor Anwar had there, this is a really exciting project that I think all of us really want to and need to get behind. And it was really satisfying when I attended the Towns Board, now named the Neighbourhoods Board, last week, where through a consultation, the public of Burnley were also putting youth provision right at the top of their priority list. So this is really important. But what we have to do is ensure that with everything that we do, that we bring in the right facilities for the right people and grow our town and make it more attractive for everybody, but we do it in a sustainable and we do it in an achievable way. So I do have an amendment, Mr Mayor, which I believe will deliver that. It has been distributed earlier today, but I am going to read it out for the benefit of the live stream. And if it needs, if officers have a copy, please distribute it. But ultimately, everybody should have sight of it on their iPads. So the amendment reads, and it's recommendation 3, because that's the only one that basically is coming to this full council. So recommendation 3 of the report. And the amendment would read, this council notes and supports the strong case for a youth zone in Burnley Town Centre as set out in the report and approves the budget set out in sections 10 and 11 of the private appendix to this report, subject to the following conditions. A, the budget to be released to onside on an as-incurred basis up to the budgetary limit specified. B, the budget to only be released post the executive approving a plan to ensure the future required annual revenue contributions of between 200k and 300k, as stated in para 9, can be achieved and sustained. Budget, and C, budget to only be released on confirmation that a youth zone meets the requirement of an acceptable form of development on the proposed site in Burnley Town Centre. And I'm going to just explain why I think there's a need for these 3 conditions. First of all, the one that basically about just releasing money to onside on an as-incurred basis. I think Councillor McGowan, as Chair of Scrutiny, has made it perfectly plain that he believes there are far cheaper ways of doing planning than what sometimes this council has to pay. So I believe if we just incur, basically it will protect the council from spending money that it doesn't need to. We could encourage onside for more innovative ways of getting through the planning process to ensure it's done cheaper, and we don't just hand over the money and basically let them get on with it. We basically do it on an as-incurred basis and try and encourage them to do it as cost-effectively as possible. Secondly, about the revenue budget, it protects the council from spending money before it has a level of assurance that what we are getting into is going to be affordable in the long term. Now, I go to the report that we had in 2022. I can't say a lot about it because that was a private report as well. But that report was 19 pages long. It went through all the capital issues. It went through all the revenue issues that would impact this council. And it gave solutions to them. This report we have in front of us today doesn't do that. And I think that's a danger to this council, that unless, would any of us spend our own money on buying something if we didn't think we'd be able to afford it in the future? So apply that same principle to how we're going to spend council taxpayers' money. And thirdly, about the actual site, again, would we actually spend the money on a project where there was some danger that actually it's going to fall because of some references that are in the local plan and the town centre master plan? Basically, it's clear within those documents that the use of the site that's being recommended, the old Thompson Centre site, was designated for a particular purpose, predominantly office space or for civic use. Now, many people have said to me, oh, civic use, that fits. Well, I've been looking for a definition of a civic use that actually fits. The examples that are given in the town centre master plan are things like law courts and magistrates' courts, buildings that are owned by the public. This building isn't going to be owned by this council or any public body. It shouldn't be owned by a charitable organisation. So the amendment is there to protect this council, not to stop anything. And basically, I think most of the answers are in a report from 2022, and all the executive would need to do is dust that off and come forward, accept these conditions, dust it off, and basically protect this council themselves from basically spending a block of money that ultimately might be lost if we don't do this right over these next few months in dealing with On-Side, who have a great reputation. I saw Salford Youth Zone on the TV at lunchtime. Absolutely fantastic. Let's get it here, but let's make sure it's affordable, because let's remember the majority of those facilities are being managed and resourced by unitary authorities with a lot bigger pockets than this council currently has. So I move the amendment, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Do we have confirmation from the monitoring officer that the amendment is relevant to the original motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm satisfied that the amendment complies with the requirements of CPR Rule 14.6. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis, do you second the amendment?
I second that amendment, Mr. Mayor, and I reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Any member? Councillor Anwar?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just going to pick up on a couple, the points that Councillor Townsend has made with regards to the amendments. I think on the first point, point A, which is, I just want to say that this is the council's standard practice with grants being paid based on defrayed expenditure. And then with the point B, where he's referring to budget to only be released post the executive approving a plan to ensure that the future required annual revenue contributions of 200 to 300k, as stated in para 9, can be achieved and sustained. In response to that, the On-Side funding model is based on philanthropic fundraising and highly dependent on sponsorship from businesses. It typically takes 70 weeks from inception to letting a contract for the building with design and funding raising for capital costs running in tandem. As set out in the report, the amount of revenue support required by the council is dependent on the amount of capital raised by On-Side. It is therefore not possible to make that decision at this stage. And with regards to point C, which Councillor Townsend is saying that the budget to only be released on confirmation that a youth zone will meet the requirement of an acceptable use for the proposed site for a town centre. A youth zone is an acceptable town centre use subject to being compliant with relevant local plan policies on design, heritage, transport, drainage, etc. The design team will be cognizant of these requirements and engage with the local planning team, including LCC highways and flooding teams, to ensure that the scheme is policy compliant. The preferred site is allocated as an employment site, but that is not at the preclusion of other suitable uses should there be a need. So hopefully that answers the questions. But I think what I want members to move towards is actually looking back on our original application which took place, and the feedback that we got from government was that we didn't have a shovel-ready scheme, which is why our funding, we were unsuccessful for that grant. And I'd like to give Councillor Townsend the benefit of the doubt, because he does say this is something that he's really, really keen on. But either he's trying to kick the can down the road and he's playing politics with this, or he's trying to kibosh the whole scheme. and the deal. And I'd like it on record to say that, well, actually, you know, we want to be ambitious for the young people of Burnley, but if we're trying to kick the can down the road or try to kibosh it or play political games, we need to come out and say, do we want this for the young people of Burnley or do we not want it? That's the honest question that we need to be asking ourselves. Do we want it or not? And I think, you know, we all know that local government reorganisation is on the horizon. Preston is getting a youth zone. Chorley has one. Blackburn already has one and is also going to get another one in Darwin. The young people of Burnley will get left behind. If a unitary council comes in, as is planned by Labour MPs and Labour leaders across Lancashire, what will we be saying to the young people of Burnley that they've got one in their unitary authority to go to Blackburn or to Darwin? And I think what we need to do is recognise that actually what we're saying is we need to make a decision here, and the decision that we're going to hopefully make in this chamber is that we support the future investment in our young people. And I hope I've answered those questions, but will not be supporting this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ishiak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say a few words in support of the motion that Councillor Anwar presented.
We're on the amendment.
Are we on the amendment? Okay, I'll come back to that then.
Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I was stood up just letting Councillor Vitt go in. I actually thank Councillor Townsend for bringing this motion, but I think that the Labour group have slightly missed the mark on this, because the actual issue that our group has with this, if we were to have any issue whatsoever, and I do take the point about the fact that every person in this chamber wants to see youth provision improved, is the actual design fees. And to update members, as Councillor Townsend mentioned, he did turn up to the Towns Board on Friday. As everybody knows, I sit as a member on the Towns Board, and it was spoken about that a consultation had taken place where 1,200 residents had come back and basically showed support for the very thing that we all say we're agreeing with. So it's not necessarily, in my mind, about where the revenue is going to come from at this stage, because it doesn't take a genius to work out that if Burnley Towns Board has been given £20 million to improve things, we as a council think that we should improve youth provision. The Towns Board have a document from residents saying exactly the same thing. To then put two and two together and say that when the Towns Board does come to putting forward proposals to spend that cash, youth provision is probably going to feature very highly on it. So I don't see the idea of we need to know in a paper, black and white, who is going to provide what at this stage in order for us to move things forward. And that's why, that's why I can't really support the Labour motion on this. If anything, Councillor Anwar talks about the planning. I think he laid out how that is a reasonable thing, what he said on there. So that doesn't stand up either. And dripping the cash to one side, like I said, the issue is the amount, not necessarily the dripping, which is why the Conservative amendment to this motion, which we'll come to after this motion, talks about the actual costs, the design fee costs, rather than, like I say, what I think Labour have missed the mark with in this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sue Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take issue, if I can, with what Councillor Anwar said, that the Labour group was in some way seeking to kibosh this proposal. I could tell you now that every member of the Labour group will be 100% behind a youth zone in the centre of Burnley. We always have been, and we always will be, because we do believe that provision for young people in the town has been withdrawn, and you could only see by some of the antisocial behaviour statistics in the town centre that there is a desperate need for something like this. So I resent that. Our only concern, and we should all have this concern, everybody, is that we want to protect the money that belongs not to us as politicians, but to the ratepayers of Burnley. They have a right to see it's properly spent. and we have a purpose in being here to make sure that their money is safeguarded. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sean Sproul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree completely with Councillor Graham. And if anybody plays politics in the council chamber, it's our council leader. Every member of this Labour group, whenever spoke about Youth Zone, has absolutely pushed to get them services in our town. What we're trying to do is protect those services and make sure that them services aren't here as a flash in a pan. So we will support the Youth Zone all the way, but all we're trying to do is support our residents' pennies that they are paying in for services that we are here to protect.
Councillor Jack Larner.
Thanks for supporting the Youth Zone. I appreciate that. But our council tax money is being wasted on antisocial behaviour because there's nothing for the youth to do. So if we don't support this now, and the can has been kicked down the road for 20 years, I've been waiting for a Youth Zone in Burnley since about 2001. This is a fantastic scheme. We need to get behind it. And just by not supporting it all, talking about a few £100,000, the millions of pounds that are being put into fire service, A&E, everything else, because we don't have any Youth Zone, anything to do for the youth, and we just need it. So why are we arguing about a few £100,000 for, I don't know, half an hour? Can we just stop and just do it? Thank you.
Councillor Lewis, you have reserved the right to speak. Would you like to do so?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really, just echoing what colleagues have said, everyone supports the Youth Zone. I think everyone in the chamber supports the Youth Zone. It's just literally about being careful with the money. Let's not spend money unless it's absolutely needed. But, you know, you wouldn't pay a builder for your house all the money up front and expect them to get on with it. You drip feed it bit by bit and say, you know, you've not done that properly, I want this sorted out. And it's a similar process that we're suggesting here. Just want to make it sensible, make sure that council tax payers' money is protected. I'm sure people would like to know that we come here and we are thinking about the money that the council taxpayers put into this council, and we're not just thinking, oh, it's only a few £100,000. A few £100,000 is a lot of money. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Townsend, you have the right to reply as a mover of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's interesting that a couple of people have mentioned, like, kicking the can down the road. I think you've lost sight of the actual amendment actually approves the budget. It actually says, basically, what your original does, but just has a couple of conditions, 3 conditions against it. The first one, I think you agree with. You said you do that already. Unfortunately, the report doesn't say that. In fact, when I read it, it says, basically, it is proposed that the council provide a grant to OnSide to procure design work to River Stage 3. It doesn't say, basically it's saying we hand them a cheque. Now, if you're telling me, fine, it's standard practice that actually we basically only pay on an as-incurred basis, I welcome that. So actually, you should be able to support recommendation A, because it's standard practice. Recommend B, about the revenue, and I've never heard Conservatives be so blasé about council taxpayers' money. It's really quite interesting that basically we're talking about the equivalent of probably a 3%, the equivalent of a 3% increase in council tax, which is what the amounts we're talking about, being basically, I don't know, just discarded at this stage. We'll think about that later. When you've no need to think about it later. When you say kick the can down the road, this could be solved tomorrow. Just have a look at the 2022 report, which I'm sure you've all read. I have, just this last couple of days. It details basically how basically the revenue will be paid for. Those who were on the executive at the time went into this in great detail to make sure it was affordable. It was a 19-page report. We insisted on it. We needed all the I's dotted, the T's crossed. And this 5-page report has now come in front of us, basically seemingly to move it on. So I don't see what the issue is in just trying to protect ourselves, basically to ensure that we're going to spend, as Councillor Lorna seems to call it, it's just a few £100,000. If we're just going to spend a few £100,000, let's ensure that we're not going to lose it because we have some money at the end of the day to actually fund this thing on an ongoing basis for the next 10 years. And the planning one probably is a little bit more contentious, but ultimately it's in the power of this council to change the uses. And I know everybody across this council has had some debates about the local plan and things like that over the years, but ultimately it was this council that put those uses on that site, which now could be, and I put could be, a stumbling block at the end of the day. All I say is, why not protect ourselves against these stumbling blocks? It won't take long. When you say kick the can down the road, it should take a few days to sort these issues out. If there's any adrenaline in this council to get this thing moving, and you can do it in a way that's protected ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Anwar, you have a right of reply the move of the original motion.
No, nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
We will now go on to vote on the Labour Group amendment. All those in favour, please show. All those against? Any abstentions? The amendment is lost. We will now return to debate the original or substantive motion. Any member. Before Councillor McGowan comes in, I need, on page 3, I need to give other non-pecuniary prejudicial interests on the guidance of Lancashire County Council as working for Children and Family Wellbeing Service. Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to take it back with this now, because you can see in front of you or on your screens the Conservative amendment to this. And I want to start it off by saying that I am a big supporter of youth provision because it brings people together and creates friendships, it's places for people to socialise, learn skills, and there's too many people living in silos at the moment that aren't meeting each other, something that was exacerbated by COVID. So I think the idea of moving ahead with a youth zone is a good idea. I know many in this council have great memories of the youth zone, the youth services that used to exist, and it shows how important it is for us, not just today, but for the future, because obviously you grow up with these things and they stick with you, and so do the friends that you make. But that really is the reason why I worked so hard to get the pump track in Hapton. It's why I'm pushing for the 3G football pitches. It's why I've been as vocal as I have about getting the upgrades to the Fennyfold changing rooms, because it provides things for young people to do. So I'm in favour of that. So it's not as if I'm against youth provision, but what I do have an issue with is the way that we spend money as this council on design and consultant fees. That's not a surprise or a shock to any single member in this room. The money we're talking about is taxpayers' money, after all. And I do feel for officers in this place because they have to follow a process. And to me, it's a system that needs changing, the way that local government finances operate. And that can only come from our side of the fence, because it's a political choice to operate like this. Council officers can't change it. They just have to follow the rules that they have. And you'll see the system, the rebirth system, for instance, of going to this stage and this stage and this stage, which cost hundreds of thousands of pounds at every stage, which is partly why nothing ever gets done in this country any longer. But as the Conservative group in Burnley Council, we want to see youth provision. But we need to address some of the issues with these design fees, and is why I've laid out the amendment as I have, and I hope members can support it. Because essentially what it does is it puts in writing the fact that if Onside are going ahead with these design fees to get this ball rolling, shall we say, and I've already touched on the Towns Board and what that could potentially bring to the table in the future, that they are competitive, the cost transparency is there, so it'll come back to the scrutiny working group that's looking on procurement of infrastructure projects, which I think's a vital task for this council to undertake. It'll go into it basically as well. The second point is it seeks guidance from Lancashire County Council, and it's not silly to think Lancashire County Council are in charge of youth provision, and we have a youth zone in Burnley on Whittam Street behind the courts. Now, some will say that is for statutory duties only, so for those children who need interventions, but it's actually open to anybody who wants to turn up. But the question that our group has, and it's contained within this amendment, is conversations need to be had with Lancashire County Council if we get this ball rolling about what impact an on-side youth zone will have on this new, on the existing youth zone. It's for that reason that I think most, if not all, of the recommendations that we put in this amendment can be supported by all members of all political persuasion. And I would like to think that when the finances come back showing what the tender process is for these design fees, then it's significantly cheaper than what the council has had previously. And I'll say that because of technological advancement and also because it's the private sector doing it. But I hope members can support, and I'm looking forward to listening to the debate if there is one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I will second the Conservative amendment and reserve the right to speak, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I confirm that the amendment satisfies the requirements of CPR Rule 14.6.
Thank you. Any member?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. This amendment's come in late, I must admit. I haven't read it. I'd like to ask for an adjournment for a quarter of an hour whilst we discuss this. Thank you.
Is that seconded, the adjournment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I second that.
All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. The adjournment is lost. Any member on the amendment? Councillor Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's hugely important that as a council we go forward united into what's a really important project for the town. It seems to me as well, given what Councillor McGowan's just said, I support what you're saying. Obviously, we need to act with some caution, but since we're expecting Onside to come and raise a lot of the funds for this project out of private sector money, we need to have, they need to feel fully confident that this council is completely behind making this happen for the town. So I would, I think we should make sure we are very unified and put a good message forward to Onside, since they are putting the work out there to make it happen for us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Anwar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just on this amendment, and I do believe the amendment from the Conservative group is, from Councillor McGowan, is much more reasonable in what it's asking for. What it's setting out, from what my understanding of it is that these are things that we would do anyway, but it's a good thing to have these in black and white and written down as part of that. So I welcome that. And I think the key thing is at number 4, which is guidance from Lancashire County Council. As members will be aware, we've been talking about a youth zone for quite some time and have had conversations with the County Council in the past with the previous administration, and we will continue to work with the current administration to see how they can be involved and what support we can get there. So that will continue. But in principle, I have no issues with this amendment and would support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other member? Councillor Gilbarton.
Thank you. I have to admit, I wasn't actually aware of this Conservative amendment until we reached the agenda item. So I'm just really, everyone knows that I am very, very thorough when it comes to looking at documentation and picking things apart. I'd just like to apologise to the Conservative group that I can't take the time to consider this because we haven't got the adjournment. So for that reason, I'm probably going to have to vote against it. Thank you.
Councillor Sean Proud.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a number of things that run through my head as we go through a lot, and I just think back to scrutiny. And this came in front of scrutiny, and we asked a number of questions. And I'm not quite certain we've had any answers to the questions that we asked in scrutiny. So in scrutiny, we discussed the impact on the other zone, and we discussed how that could affect people and how that could cause either positives or negatives. We talked about the cost, absolutely, of what the planning is going to be. And again, I'm not quite certain we got the full answers there. And then we talked about things like how do people or children from Padiham get to this zone? Now, we discussed in that, and we did ask the questions of, is it possible for people to go back and feed back to us on whether or not there's any chance of any free bus passes for people who are on the outsides of the town? We haven't got any of that information. So, for me personally, looking at this amendment, as ours didn't get through, and I find it quite interesting because they're really quite similar. Personally, I will be supporting this amendment, not because of any other reason than, as a Labour member, I want the best for our children in the future, but actually this offers a little bit of protection for what is going on. Thank you.
Councillor McGowan, you have about to reply to the move of the...
I think Councillor Whittaker wants to speak.
Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, I'm fully behind this, as all of us are in here. We all remember what we used to have youth provision-wise in Burnley. And this, in my opinion, is a golden opportunity for us here that we must grasp. Many points have been raised this evening, good points, valid points by everybody who's contributed to this. Reference has been made to kicking the can down the road. We've got an opportunity here, as we had an opportunity with Pioneer Place. The Oval was kicked down, the can was kicked down the road for many, many years. And for many, many years, we had an empty car park. A car park. We've now got fantastic facilities at Pioneer Place because we were brave enough to take those decisions and actually back it. I would ask all members this evening to vote for this amendment that my colleague Councillor McGowan has put forward. It is well written, it's got everything that we need in there, and I fully back it, as do all the members of my group. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If no any other member, if not, Councillor McGowan, you have about to reply as the mover of the amendment. Councillor Townsend.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, it's come late, this, let's just sum it in. There's lots of words here to try and understand all the implications, which I think is a sad way of doing something which is a really important issue. I'm just interested in the first, and perhaps Councillor McGowan can address this, and maybe even Councillor Anwar when he comes out. But the first one is about competitive tendering and cost transparency. Onside must conduct a competitive tender process for River Stage 3 design work and submit the best quote, including a detailed cost breakdown to Burnley Borough Council. I don't think anybody has any problem with that in principle, but I'd just like to understand, have we discussed this with Onside directly? Because we're putting the onus on Onside here. They've done a number of these. I would hate that and I'd like some reassurance that somebody has had a discussion with Onside about this, that this is the approach that they're happy to take. because if they're unhappy with the requirements that we put on them, are we in danger that they may, I'll use the words, walk away, that we're making it all too difficult when they've had basically nice relations with other councils in terms of how they've moved forward. And I'm not quite sure what it means to the actual report, because the recommendation, okay, it's setting a budget, but what if well, I don't know in terms of like what happened. Basically, the report reads like we're giving a grant. And that's what it says. We are giving a grant. So are we only giving a grant to the level that they basically quote, or is that what's happening here, or is it on a invoice basis? Because I know that basically in the past it's been on an invoice basis when we were in 2022. I'm just concerned, and I wish you'd given us the opportunity to at least adjourn and consider what was being put in front of us here. But I think if the leader of the council believes that he's got this nailed down with onside, and it's not a case of basically that they're uncomfortable with any of this, that's fine. So if he can stand up and say onside are right for this, then I'm happy for our Labour group to get behind that. If he can't stand up and say onside have agreed to this, then I think we'll have to sit on our hands. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lubna Carr.
Hi, just a point of order, Mr. Mayor. I believe Councillor Townsend has already spoken, so I'm not sure if he was able to speak then, but also he seemed to be speaking about the first motion when we're speaking about the Conservative. So I'm really confused as to what's been allowed in this chambers tonight. I would just like some clarity on if that is allowed. In fact, he seemed to be addressing the council leader regarding the first motion, so I'd just like some clarification, please. Thank you.
Advice on that.
Just to clarify the position, Councillor Townsend spoke on an amendment, so he's allowed to speak on another amendment, which he quite clearly did. He's asked a question of the council leader, but the council leader has already spoken on this amendment, so I don't think under the rules he has the ability to speak again unless we undertake some suspension of standing orders in the Constitution. So I just wanted to clarify that he's already spoken on this amendment, so Member Mill might be able to clarify it in the right reply.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I'm quite open to any other member of the executive giving me that insurance.
Can we listen to?
Just bear with me. I was coming to address this, Councillor Townsend. Whilst Councillor Anwar can't speak on the debate, the democracy officers are quite rightly identified that he has a right of reply as the mover of the original motion, so he can do so at that instance. Thank you.
Are there any other member? Councillor McGowan, you have a right to reply to the mover of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will address what Councillor Townsend has said, because basically what he's asking is whether or not this motion that we put forward is going to scupper plans, which, I mean, if you were to put side by side the Labour motion and the Conservative motion, come on. This is not scuppering plans. This is how it's going to happen, but putting it in black and white to make sure that we get it in the best way possible, but not, and the protections that we've spoken about within the motion, but then also that it comes to the scrutiny working group as an example of one of the extra things that we want to put in there. I thank everyone for the contributions in this. I thank Councillor Sproul for what he said. We did have a very deep conversation as a scrutiny committee about this item that we found ourselves talking about tonight. And that's what this motion tries to wrap up. Because as chair of scrutiny, I took on board what was said. I listened completely to what everyone was saying, and the things that made sense to me are included in this motion, and that's why I hope all members can support it tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Anwar, you have a right to reply as a mover of the original motion.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just in answer to the questions that the first one that Councillor Townsend asked was around are Onside aware of this, and I think the answer to that is that Onside will carry out mini tender through their framework. That's something that they would do, and that information would come back to us as a council, and the costs alongside that would be approved by this council and come back to the head of finance to do that. So I think that answers the question in terms of are Onside on board, and are they signed up to this, or will this amendment itself make them walk away? And I don't think that is what would happen here. In terms of the question around invoicing or how that would work, as I said before earlier on, the grant would be paid based on deferred expenditure. So there'll be no need for return of any unspent funds as well. So I think that answers the questions that are being asked in terms of Onside and their commitment. I think what we need to do is, and I'm sure it'll get debated, I think one thing is clear, that everybody in this chamber wants to ensure that we deliver for the young people of this borough. When we come back, if this amendment passes and becomes a substantive motion, members will get the opportunity to speak about why it's important to get that. So I won't go into that and I'll allow members to make that contribution. But I think the key thing is that, in my view, this amendment is reasonable because it would not have an impact on Onside's commitment towards helping us deliver a youth zone for Burnley. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We will now go to the vote on the Conservative Group amendment. All those in favour, please show. All those against? Are there any abstentions? The amendment is carried and becomes part of the substantive motion. We will now return to debate on the substantive motion. Any member? Councillor Councillor Haig. I've known you about 20 years.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. This is just, we've already discussed as part of the
Councillor Haig will come back to Councillor.
Very sorry, not my choice. We've already sort of touched on what we talked about in scrutiny committee, but I know it was mentioned in one of the amendments, we had the concern about children for Padium. So again, I want to reiterate, youth zone, great, want the youth zone, yes to that, happy. The point that is made in the report about it being assessed that it is a suitable distance for children from Padium to travel to, but not just Padium, all our outer villages. For families who don't have a lot of money, bus fare to and from a youth zone multiple times a week, or as much as the children want to go, might be the difference between them being able to afford food and not be able to afford food. And especially the distance from Padium outwards, some parents might not be as comfortable with that. So we had the discussion, obviously, about the options of can we approach Lancashire County Council, who are responsible for youth, to help with subsidising bus fares for children who might want to access that, who are from families who don't have as much money. But we also had a half promise, an agreement from Rob Dobson on the night, who said that the council would be more than happy to do an equalities impact assessment as part of this process to ensure that no children are missing out or unable to access this provision. So I just wanted to ask if the executive could commit that we will get that equalities impact assessment to ensure that all children can benefit from, again, what I think is a really great thing. Thank you.
Councillor Ishiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Colleague Councillor McGowan started off his speech before his amendment, saying it's a good idea. But I'm going to say it's a fantastic idea. It's one that's much needed in Burnley. As somebody who's worked with young people for many years, and I've seen firsthand how much they can achieve when they get space and support they deserve. But let's be clear that get behind this and support this and not politicise this, because my understanding is the last government decimated youth services across the country, and we're still living in the consequences. Rising mental health issues, lack of opportunity, and young people feel forgotten. This youth zone is not a luxury, it's not a nice to have, it's essential. It's how we begin to put things right, by investing in their future and showing them loud and clear they matter. Let's back our young people and let's back this proposal. Thank you, colleagues.
Any other member? Councillor Arnold, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just really going back to the discussion about travel. Obviously, there's Burnley as a borough is a large borough. This is right in the centre of town. It's not easy for a lot of people and a lot of families to get there. It was brought up at scrutiny, and I almost want to highlight really that we have scrutiny meetings. It's even in Councillor McGowan's report later on in this agenda pack that we discussed about travel at that scrutiny meeting, and we find that we talk about things at scrutiny meeting and we feed these things back, and then it just seems to be, oh, we'll just forget about that because we're just going to push it through at the council anyway. It seems like there's no sort of that scrutiny group sometimes feels a little bit pointless, that we just have a lovely discussion and a lovely debate and then nothing ever happens with it because the executive just ignores it all. It really would be nice if we could get some reassurances that travel for all parts of the borough, for deprived families, because at the end of the day, a bus fare might not seem a lot to us, but there's a lot of families out there that a bus fare will be the difference between whether they eat or not one evening. So I'd really like to get some reassurances that that'll be considered. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other member? I'm going to let the Chief Executive come in on this.
Members, sorry, I don't mean to interject on a very sort of important debate. I know this Conservative amendment came in quite late, but I've just been having a look through it, and there's a number of points. If you are going to move to the vote on the motion and the amendment forms part of the substantive motion, some minor items which I do think need to be clarified so officers are clear in terms of what happens next, because the last thing we want is to be caught in the crossfire. Firstly, point number 3 on the Conservative amendment, it says the final amount spent on design fees, and I won't repeat the rest, provided the scrutiny working group within a month of the work being tendered. Well, is it of the work being completed, or is it at what point? Because once it's spent, it's already been tendered and spent. So should that word be being completed? Tendered. So then it should say the final amount allocated on design fees, not spent. Is that what's intended? Well, we'll have to move an alteration at the appropriate time, but just bear with me. I just want to put another clarification. On paragraph numbered 4, it says, with the findings included in a report submitted to the scrutiny committee. Do you mean as part of the full business case at that point? Because that's presumably, or I'm just seeking. And sorry, we just need clarification for officers because it's not clear. And on point number 1, it says that on-site need to submit a quote, including a detailed cost breakdown to Burnley Borough Council. So if they submit it, does that need to be approved by the Director of Resources? I know Councillor Anwar alluded to that, but I don't... The motion doesn't talk about that. So what would happen with it? So it says here, on-site must conduct a competitive tender process for the REBA Stage 3 design work and submit the best quote, including a detailed cost breakdown.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Should we have an adjournment to try and sort this out? Because I must admit I've got some contradictions on here from what Councillor McGowan said to what is actually in his motion as well. Now I'm having a chance to read it. But I really do think if there's some wordsmithing is required on this, for such an important issue, it should be done properly and not just in this ad hoc way of just asking a question of one member and he says yes and it gets written in. That doesn't sound right to me.
What the decision on that?
It's your decision, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like we're amending it now.
Just bear with us. We have voted on it, but we haven't. It forms part of the substantive motion. The item can still be altered before it goes to the final vote on the motion. So it's still a substantive motion which is being debated. We just need clarification for officers because I can imagine, in all fairness, we could get caught in the crossfire.
Do we not need to vote as a council on whether we met these minor amendments?
We would, but I'm just clarifying all the alterations which I believe will be relevant for officers to consider before we do that. Because I can imagine, in all fairness, we'll be get caught in the crossfire and spend hours trying to sort of decipher it, which isn't best use of officer time, and being honest. So,
can I just ask one comment on this? There's nothing wrong with asking for a 5-minute drill while we get everything and the public over there just sort of tell. We can all see it and if you like, talk about drills, etc. But the public are watching this. The public are watching this and watching us go through such an important issue. Why isn't it doing that? So I suggested that again. Just a simple 5-minute adjournment while it's sorted out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay then, Councillor Harbour, to the executive, just trying to clarify with the move of the amendment. Is it seconded for a 5-minute adjournment?
I second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour of the adjournment, please show. Anyone against? Any abstention? I'll adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes.
Members of the council, when
Members of the Cabinet, ladies and gentlemen, Burnley Council, all present. Thank you.
Please be seated. Councillors, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive to read.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. During the adjournment, I had a conversation with Conservative Group Leader, Councillor McGowan, and just trying to address some of the concerns that officers have in relation to the substantive motion which is presented. They are quite minor, but they are quite important for officers. In principle, Councillor McGowan is happy to put forward an alteration to this effect. Obviously, it would require to be seconded and potentially, well, not potentially, it will require the consent of this meeting for it to be considered the substantive motion which members will vote on. So if members could go on to the supplemental agenda on their agenda packs, I can talk them through it. It's item 6B, is the Conservative amendment to the recommendation on the on-site youth zone budget. The point numbered 1 within that additional narrative that the Conservative group via Councillor McGowan have put forward, he would like to remove the words by way of an alteration and submit the best quote, including a detailed cost breakdown to Burnley Borough Council, because that is, in essence, going to be dealt with at point number 3. At point number 3, he would like to add in the words allocated to be before the word spent. So it reads better, otherwise the final word would have to be replaced from tendered to completed. And then at the end of item numbered 4 on his amendment, he would like the following words to be added in before a full business case is submitted for the open access on-site youth zone for full council for consideration. So that alteration which I've read out would have to be moved, seconded. The meeting will have to signify their consent either by saying aye or giving a vote on it. Is that correct, Catherine? It is. Thank you.
So, Councillor McGowan, will you move that alteration?
I move that alteration, Mr Mayor.
Any seconded?
I'll move that alteration, Mr Mayor.
Any, thank you. The alteration has been moved and seconded. Any member on the alteration? All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? That is now the substantive motion. Any member? Any member? We're going to go to the floor and Councillor Anwar. Is he allowed to come in? No.
He has a final right of reply.
All right, Councillor Anwar, you have a final right to reply. Thank you. Because we're on the floor. I would just say.
First of all, thank you for the contribution. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for their contributions during that debate, and I think we finally got to a position where all members hopefully will be supporting this, the proposal to get a shovel-ready scheme so that should funding come forward, we can move towards delivering a youth zone for Burnley, because I think that's what everybody in this chamber wants, and it's something that our residents, as part of that consultation with the Towns Board, have come back and said as well. I just want to address a couple of questions and issues that were brought up. The first one being, there's a question around impact on LCC provision that was highlighted, one, as part of scrutiny, but also raised in the chamber this evening. And I think what I would encourage every single member to do is go and visit a youth zone that is run by Onside. There's one in Chorley, There's the Salford one's just opened, there's one in Manchester. But you will see then the difference between the youth provision that traditional youth services provide and what is provided by a youth zone that's delivered by Onside. And there's many a colleague here who have been and will testify to that and attest to what I'm saying there. But the other difference between the youth zone, not just in terms of how it's all singing, all dancing and delivers state-of-the-art facilities for our young people, the other thing that hopefully that it does is, well, it's open access. It's open to every single young person in the borough, so everybody can access it. Whereas the provision that we have, and we've alluded to it before in terms of youth services being decimated over the past 10 or 15 years in terms of what we have. Current youth services that we have are they're targeted, so they are for a specific group of young people who need that specific intervention or support, which is not something that the youth zone that we're proposing would go beyond that as well. With regards to having a conversation, again, a question that was raised, having a conversation with the County Council, as I mentioned before, we had lengthy conversations and discussions with the previous administration at LCC, and despite going with us to when we were the previous administration, they went along to see a youth zone provision in Manchester with us. I think Councillor Lishman, Councillor Graham might have been part of that visit. But they didn't buy into the idea because they were set on the provision that they've got currently. Our aim is to speak to the new administration at the County Council and see what support we can get for our young people in Burnley. I do believe there was contribution from the County Council towards the Chorley model, but that was a long time ago and under a different financial envelope, so I think it was something to consider. With regards to the other question that was raised was around, and I think Councillor Whitaker mentioned it, was that there is an element of risk. But in this council, we have a reputation for actually sometimes taking on that challenge of the risk, because we did it with Pioneer Place, we did it with Charter Walk, and we did it when we had the Levelling Up Fund that we applied for. Because those projects were shovel-ready, we were able to deliver on them, and they are now paying dividends. There is an element of risk, and I think we've got to move forward and take that, because we believe in this and delivering for our young people. In answer to the question about, is this for the people of Burnley? It's for the people, or young people, of the whole of the borough of Burnley, not just for Burnley as a town. It's for Padiham, it's for Cliviger, it's for Briarcliff, and all of our communities. With regards to the issue around the bus, all of this travel and how we get our young people to the site will be a part of the next stage, and that will be something that will be consulted on, that we'll engage on and try to obviously answer any questions there. But the whole purpose of having the youth zone at the site that we're talking about is because it's close to the bus station and it's central, so any young person will hopefully be able to get on a bus and get to the town centre. Although sometimes young people can be quite territorial, one thing that not territorial about is actually coming to the town centre. And we've got all that ASB in the town centre, and hopefully it will tackle those issues that we're seeing. And we saw that with the evidence that came back from the Chorley youth zone and the impact that it had on antisocial behaviour in the town. And then with regards to scrutiny, one thing that I would say is I think scrutiny is very well chaired by the current chair of the scrutiny committee. Those questions do come, and I think we've had a lengthy debate this evening, but some of these questions could have been answered if those questions were raised prior to actually being brought up here this evening on the night of full council, and some of those amendments coming in quite late. But I do hope that every single person in this chamber will support this, and because we want to deliver for all of our young people and the future generation. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
We will now move to the vote on the substantive motion. All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Are there any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 7, report from committee chairs. Can members please note that for this item, they should not refer to named individuals or specific addresses when asking questions or making observations. Questions and delegated functions such as licensing and planning should be directed to the relevant committee chair rather than to executive members. Where issues relate to proceedings held in private, members should not make references which could lead to the identification of participants. 7A Scrutiny Committee. Councillor McGowan, will you move the report at page 111 in the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the scrutiny report.
Any member? 7B Ordnance Standards Committee. Councillor Whittaker, will you move the report on page 113 of the agenda?
I move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any member? 7D Development Control. Councillor Ishiak, will you move the report at page 7C Licensing Committee? Councillor Kelly, will you move the report at page 115 in the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to give my report.
Any member? 7D Development Control. Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to raise an issue that I saw in the local newspaper from Councillor Alan Oscar last week, talking about the licensing committee. So I just wanted clarification for my own peace of mind. Is it a licensing function to deal with what was reported in the Lancashire Telegraph, or is it an executive? Because he kind of, it was reported as his quote reported that he was fobbed off. So thank you.
Sorry. I've no idea what was in the Lancashire Telegraph.
Oh, sorry. So just to confirm for all members, in the Lancashire Telegraph, it got quite a bit of traction. Councillor Oscar spoke at the exec meeting saying that he wanted all taxi drivers to be able to speak English. And I just wanted to see what the actual procedure is for that, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I was expecting Mr. Oscar to appear tonight. I'd heard he'd told people that he was going to come and ask these same questions tonight, but obviously he's not arrived. He asked the same questions a while ago, and in this council chamber, and I did reply to him then. The same reply I would give to him now. If he'd bothered to come to the 2 training sessions that we've had very recently, he would know the answer to all those questions. He would know exactly what the taxi drivers have to do to get their licences. We've had 2 really good training sessions about that. The other one is we have not had one complaint about that. I've checked with the officers today, they have not had one complaint, so there's nothing else to say about it. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was in the Evening Telegraph. I'm afraid I don't read the Lancashire Telegraph.
Any other member? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to back up what Councillor Kelly's just said there. She's been an absolutely superb chairman of the licensing committee for all the time I've sat on it. In fact, it's been in her tenure that we have introduced more training for taxi drivers that they have to go on beforehand. We've also introduced a newsletter to keep taxi drivers updated on our communications with them and new legislation, etc. I just want to put that on record. She's a brilliant chair and we've done really well. We had some issues, what could be seen as issues, and we've been dealing with them effectively. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I kind of just want to echo what Councillor Whittaker said in that at the most recent licensing committee, we discussed how this council has much more stringent rules than other councils and how we're just not willing to change that. And I think the part of the report that mentions the amount of subcommittees that we've had to have lately proves that, in that this council has standards, and when those standards are broke, they will be brought up in front of us. And as Councillor Whittaker says, that none of those committees have ever been brought to us on complaints of anybody being inappropriate, not being able to speak English. So I again think this is a non-issue for us right now, and I would also like to thank Councillor Whittaker for all the lovely training that we've had after the questions that we've had from the subcommittees, where I have certainly learned a lot about licensing with the extreme amount that we've had lately. Thank you.
Councillor Anwar.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Because everybody's saying nice things about Councillor Kelly, I thought I'd chip in and say that have my two pennies worth as well. I do find it ironic. I do find it ironic that Councillor Hosker turned up at the executive and had to go about member attendance, and then it transpires, one, he's not here, and secondly, he didn't attend the training that was provided either. So I just do find that ironic. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lubna Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to speak only a small amount on this. I do think that this council has a lot to be proud of. We do have very rigorous vetting standards, and our licensing committee is obviously second to none because it has the chairwoman on it. What I think that was published in the Telegraph was probably more something that is probably a personal matter. So I don't think that the taxi drivers are not well equipped to converse with passengers or to take their fare or to do their job well. I think probably what the councillor question was trying to allude to is that he wanted to have some level of conversation, maybe more about what his, any commonalities that they may have. I think he probably might need to go to his friends for that. But as he's told me before, I'm one of the ones that he likes. So he's very welcome to come and speak to me anytime.
Know the member. 7D, Development Control. Councillor Ishiak, will you move the report at page 119 in the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move Development Control report.
Any member? Item 8, Strategic Plan Progress Reports. Members, please note that for this item, they should not refer to named individuals or specific addresses when asking questions or making observations. I will ask for any questions on this report, and the executive member will respond to a number of questions. The same procedure will then be followed by observations. Can I remind members with a question or observation to clearly quote the page number and reference and allow time for the executive and everyone else to find it in their agenda packs. Members should know that PF 20 covers more than one executive portfolio: leader, resources and performance, and community and environmental services. Members should therefore ensure they are asking questions of the correct portfolio holder. To help members, the text relevant to a particular executive member is in black text in the strategic commitment column of the report. If the text is light grey, these aspects are contained elsewhere. Will members please be concise with their questions and observations? And did everyone understand that? Okay, leader, Councillor Anwar, will you please move your report at page 122 at the agenda, on the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move my report, and in doing so, just add a few words about or draw members' attention to a number of items on there. I won't say anything about the youth zone. I think we've covered that this evening fairly substantially. One of the things I'm really pleased about is that, and I'm sure lots of members will be pleased about, and it's great to see lots of elected members join at the reopening of Townley Hall and celebrate that fantastic, Townley Hall that we have, reopening and bringing that, preserving that heritage that we have in this borough. So I'd like to thank all members and also those who supported that investment in preserving that heritage as well. I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. With regards to reorganisation, as the report sets out, we have got to a stage now where there will be proposals put forward, but I'm pleased to say that all Lancashire districts and councils and leaders are working together to ensure it is one proposal that goes forward with various different models, so that government can then consider which of those that they want to take further forward, which means that when the report comes here to Burnley Council for members to have a look at, there will be the options of 2, 3, 4 and 5 unitaries that will be there on the table for us to decide which of those that we support as a council. Also, just wanted to mention with regards to the peer review, it's fantastic to welcome back the peer review team and hear the feedback that they gave on the progress that we're making, but also the fantastic feedback really to some of the work that our officers are doing. And one of the things that they clearly pointed out was that Burnley Council does not stand still. And I think that's really important in terms of the progress, that we're not getting distracted by what is going on with local government reorganisation. We're focused and we'll continue to deliver the best we can for our residents. And in line with that, I'd just like to draw people's attention really to the awards and recognitions, the MJ Awards and the LGC Awards. To be highly commended and to be in the final shortlist was a fantastic achievement. And I'm sure all members will join me in congratulating all of our staff that were involved in that, but all of our council staff. But it is something that all members should be celebrating as well. And special mention for Alex Brown from the Street Scene team, who actually went on to win the Rising Star Award at the MJ Awards. And I think we're blessed to have some fantastic staff who work here at the council, and it's something that we should all be proud of. So happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions on the report? Any questions? Councillor Townsend?
Thank you. It's one way of shutting me up, isn't it? So I'd like to thank the council leader for his update this evening and keeping councillors appraised of what's going on, and it's interesting to know about what's happening in terms of Lancashire's proposal. But just on this, in terms of us at Burnley Council, in March I proposed that we set up a working group through a council motion. That council motion wasn't successful, but since then behind the scenes I've asked a number of times if we should set up a working group to go through what's actually happening regarding LGR, and obviously a final decision is coming up fast now in November, and the clock is ticking. I just want to be clear, we on these benches are open-minded in terms of what the solution should be. We'll go where the data, where the evidence takes us through this data sharing exercise that's now going. So basically what I want to ask the council leader, will you set up a cross-party working group now the data sharing is underway, so we can have the widest possible support for whatever solution this council wants to progress when we get to November? So it's really just, can we work together to try and get to where we need to be on this subject? Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Andrew, how many questions do you want to get? Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Anwar, page 122, PE1, I note that your report leads with engagement with the charity Right to Succeed. So this is an organisation that I wasn't aware of before this report, but I'm just wondering, they operate 5 different programme types. The comment in your report is quite abstract. So which of these programmes are we actually looking to engage with them regarding? Is it literacy-based, inclusion, youth offer, cradle to career? It looks a fantastic organisation, but you've just sort of whetted our appetites here and left lots of questions unanswered. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on page 123, PR12, regarding the paddy and flood defences, obviously everyone should be pleased that the funding has been secured to actually complete the paddy and flood defences. However, we're almost coming up to 10 years since the Boxing Day floods, which sparked this off. So the delay that has gone on over the years has been horrendous and caused a lot of worry for residents in Padiham. And I just wonder what reassurance the executive member can give that there isn't going to be any further delay to reassure, those residents in Padiham that, because as it stands, we get another flood like 2015, the same damage is going to happen in Padiham, and nobody wants that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor, would you like to handle those three then now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In response to the first question from Councillor Townsend, I think one of the things that I did set out right from the very off is that as we move through this process with regards to conversations around local government organisation, I would be transparent. And in terms of everything that I was able to share and I'm able to share, I've shared that with this chamber. And I think, the fact that we've got to a position where other leaders, other district councils were not willing to entertain the idea of us having, the different options on there. They were setting that they were going to look at just one or two options. But the fact that we've engaged in those conversations and had positive conversations with them, we've managed to get the 2, the 3, the 4 and a 5 model on there. As we progress through this and consultants start to work on the modelling and that data comes in, that will be shared with all members, and we'll be able to have a look at that and see that, and will be shared with it so that everybody can give their opinion on that, and then will be a final report coming to council. With regards to the answer around the working group, there was a working group that was set up that was looking at via the Boundary Commission. They also included the conversations around devolution, and it was frozen at the request of the Boundary Commission. It was stopped, and I have no issues with that working group reconvening, and if it means that when we're able to have those conversations. But I think what we've got to do is wait for this piece of work that's going to happen over the next 6 weeks or so, that will then provide us with the information. Because as a working group, we've got to have something, or you would have to have something that you're going to have a look at that you can then analyse and then give your viewpoint or your recommendations off that. But as I said, I have no issues with the working group being set up, and that was something that the deputy leader reported back to Councillor Townsend. But in actual fact, what we need to do is let the professionals do their work and wait for that information to come back, and then we can share that with yourselves. With the question around right to succeed, in terms of which particular programme it is, I can get that information for you, Councillor Barton. But I think the key point to recognise here is that we've got young people in Burnley who fall behind, and sometimes it's a bit of a postcode lottery. So a child born in Clibridge, say, performs better than one born in the West End or lives in the West End of the borough, and we can't allow for our young people, or a child born in Burnley doesn't do as well as somebody in the Ribble Valley. And I think what we want to do as part of this is actually show that dedication towards our young people, that we want to make a difference to their lives, and every single young person should have equal opportunity to become whatever it is that they want to be with the same opportunities. And I think that's what the right to succeed. But in answer to your question, which programme it is, I will get that full details for you and make sure officers that share that with you. With regards to the flood defences, I think everybody in this room agrees that the flood defences, that was one area where I think every single political grouping came together to ensure, along with our fantastic officers, to ensure that we didn't give up when the costing of those flood defences went through, went much higher than what we were anticipating. And it was actually our patience and the hard work of the officers, but all of us showing a united front, that ensured that we delivered that funding. And it is, the report sets out, it is April 26 that we're looking at for that work to be delivered. But I'm just as keen as everybody in this room to ensure that we get that completed, the works are completed, and ensure that the safeguard the futures of all those residents in Padiham who are affected by it, and the businesses. So thank you very much.
Any more questions to the leader? Any observations? Councillor Townsend, then.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just page PF20 again, page 1 to 3. I welcome the council leaders' basically response to my question about a working group. I think through that I got a yes, one will be set up in about 6 weeks' time when the date is available. And I look forward to sitting down with him and all the other group leaders and perhaps others in doing the hard yards to come to the widest possible consensus that we possibly can. So I take that as a real positive. I'd like to do 2 observations again. It's PF20, page 123 and 124, peer review and awards and recognition. I'd like to just congratulate everybody associated with this council for basically what they've achieved and what comes out in the words on the report there. But I'd like to say as well that it's not just about people who are here now. Some of the hard yards in terms of taking this council from where it was potentially around 20 years ago to where we are now, some people are still around. It's been a long journey. And some of the chief execs have come and gone, but they've all contributed. Leaders have come and gone, but they've all had a common goal to improve the standards of this council. And I can just like to congratulate everybody, both members and officers, in the success that's been recognised on a national basis there. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gordon Birdwhistle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's page 122, PE1. I'd just like to read a bit of the commitment that we have. The commitment is we support initiatives aimed at raising aspirations, ensuring that every child, regardless of their background, has the same opportunity to thrive and succeed. Every child in this town is our future, and they must do this, and I congratulate every one of these 3 items on here, the right to succeed, the primary engineer and the youth zone, for helping these young people to be future senior citizens of this town and deliver a prosperity that this town needs for us in this chamber today and for the future. But I am saddened to say that this does not happen across the world. And I am saddened to say there are young people in this world at the moment being brutalised by other people, other nations. And this was brought home to me a couple of days ago, that really brought it home to me emotionally, I have to say, when I read about a young man of 5 in Gaza. The only thing he wanted in life was a drink of water. He staggered to a well to get a drink of water. And his future was decided by a bullet through his head, delivered by a soldier from the IDF. Now, this saddens me. And I have stood in this chamber on a number of occasions and asked for the council to write to our MP, to write to the government, to express our distress about what's going on there. But I have never seen a copy of the letter that's ever been sent, and I have never seen a response from our MP or the government. And I would love to see those responses, Mr Mayor. Now, I accept that Councillor Whittaker's concerned that I'm not talking about Burnley. I am talking about the children of the world, and they are the future of the world. What happens to the children of the world happens to the people of Burnley. So that is my contribution to this. I am delighted for the children of Burnley and Lancashire for what's going on here. But I am saddened that this is only for our area and for our country. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. So, Councillor Jamie McGowan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Bring on a general election now, Gordon. You can get back to Parliament that way. I'll bring it back to Burnley Borough Council now for a second. I just wanted to raise PR 12, page 123. And I just think obviously it's in the reports, and most people, if not all, should be all in this room know what's happening. But it is quite devastating to think that Burnley Borough Council is going to be abolished in the next 2.5 years. In reality, like, this town hall will be gone, and I just wanted to make that as an observation that, you know, we're talking, well, some members are talking about, but we're talking about local services being delivered. And this is really historic as a town hall. We've just had the spending done on the roof, and all of it's going to go in. And I noted in the council leaders' report, you know, the elections to the borough will take place next May, and they'll be the last elections as it currently stands on the roadmap to this place until a new thing comes. The only thing I want to say is an observation is I've been taking a note on the responses of people, and I don't just mean within Burnley, because I don't think many residents realise this place is going, but more across Lancashire, with now the talk of whether or not there'll be a Lancashire-wide referendum on this. And I have noted that the Labour minister responsible, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, has come back and said, no, even if a referendum is taking place, it won't matter because Labour are intent on pushing this through. And I just think it's a bit of a sad moment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Ann, would we like to respond to those observations?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping that people would feel sorry for me and be nice to me today and stop me getting up and down, but it's not gone to plan. Just on the first observation from Councillor Townsend with regards to the working group, I think just to clarify, what I said was that there was a working group, and I have no issues with that being reconvened if members wish for that to happen. But obviously, we need a substantial piece of work that needs to take place, and we need to let the professionals get on with that. And we'll have, as and when something's reported back, I will report back via whichever channel that is. And I think the standing item on member structures working group is part of that. But as I said, I have no issues with a working group being formed. But the key thing is we're short on time in terms of getting to the next stage of doing the modelling, getting the data, looking at that, and then bringing that back for members to give us some direction where we go. In terms of, I echo everything that Councillor Townsend has said with regards to the observation around staff and recognising the contributions of staff and members over the past 20 years or so. And I think, you know, everybody will agree with me when they say is that, and I get it all the time, where people who visit Burnley now say, you know, when they visit, haven't been for a while, and come back and say that it's unrecognisable. And there's something in the air as well, something really, really positive in the air in Burnley. And that, again, is something to be proud of, not just for those of us who are in this chamber or the staff who currently work, but actually for all those who have contributed over the years to make, to change the narrative. And that's something that we, when the Chief Executive and I presented as part of the MJ and the LGC Awards, was actually push that narrative. We've changed, no other place has changed the narrative about itself like Burnley has. And that, I think, is something that we, all those who have contributed, past and present, should be really, really proud of. With regards to Councillor Birtwhistle's observation, I think I've mentioned it, that, you know, in answering Councillor Barton's question, is that no child who is born in Burnley should fare worse than a child in, say, Ribble Valley, or somebody born in one of our more deprived wards in the borough should not have less of an opportunity to access, whether it's education, whether it's opportunities, than somebody in another part of the borough. And sometimes it can be an accident of birth, of where we're born, where we are. And I think I'd just like to draw people's attention to something that's not on my report, but something that I'm really proud that this council did. And it was great to see members from across all political groupings attend, was the 30-year commemoration of Srebrenica, where members attended, and we commemorated that. And we stood together in solidarity to show that, you know, and think about those 8,000 young men and boys that lost their lives. And, you know, we stand there and use the words, don't we, never again. And it can be quite easy to use those words, but then also turn a blind eye to things that are going on across the world. And I think people need to remember or think that, there will be a time in 5 years or 10 years' time where we'll be remembering or thinking about what's going on across the world now, and will come together to commemorate it, and there will be people who will have turned a blind eye to it now. And it's something for us to think about, is that what do we say? Do we stay silent, or do we speak up on it? And I think that's a question for all of us. So, and I hope that provides a response. But as I said, we don't want to be in a situation where we keep saying never again and then turn a blind eye when it does happen. So, you know, that's something for all of us as members to think about, but also in terms of how we use our voices, in a sense. With regards to the observation by Councillor McGowan, yeah, I think the reality is that, look, you know, everybody now understands that this government is pushing through local government reorganisation. It is going to happen, whether we like it or not. Some of us in this chamber might not want it to happen. Some of us want it to happen in different ways. But I think, you know, the reality is that you alluded to the fact that the Minister has come back to the County Council's request for a referendum and saying, well, irrespective of whether there is one, it doesn't mean anything because they'll push ahead anyway. And I hope I'm wrong, but in a similar vein, I hope we're not having to, or being forced or told to do this massive piece of work on putting together these proposals for local government reorganisation of what our preferred models are. Of a, I mean, my preferred model would be of a 5 and 2 unitaries for East Lancashire, which would give us 2 voices on any combined authority. But from what we're hearing, and I hope I'm wrong, but you know, the rumours or the sounds that were coming out of that we're hearing is that it's already a done deal in terms of what will happen. As I said, I hope I'm wrong, and that we can do this piece of work and have a real impact, and government will listen to what we're saying. But it would be really disappointing if what we're hearing, what the rumours are, that the deal is done anyway, and it's going to be done in a particular way. And as I say, I hope that's not the case. But there will be a significant amount of work going in that we'll be putting in, our offices are putting in, that will hopefully get civil servants and the MPs and politicians and ministers to actually listen to what I believe is, when we talk about devolution or local democracy, it's localised. And I believe large unitaries would actually take away democracy from our communities. And we're talking about this chamber not existing. If an East Lancashire unitary becomes a reality for those 5 or 6 districts that we currently have, I haven't done the maths in terms of the number of councillors that we have now, but what it would mean is we would end up with 50, possibly 50 councillors for the whole of that East Lancashire unitary, which means out of the 45 that we have here, we're probably only left with 10. And that, again, for me, is taking away that localised democracy and is the opposite of what, when we're talking about devolution. So I welcome the comments, but I think what we've got to do is, we're going into this in a transparent way, and we're going into this and we're doing it in the right way, where we're making our contribution and hopefully having our voice heard. As I said, and what I will continue to do is make sure that Burnley's voice is heard as part of that. But as I say, you know, if there are any, if the deals have been done, then it's wasting everybody's time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I've got one more observation from Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this relatively brief. It's PL9, page 152. It's with regards to the playing pitch and outdoor strategy. Sorry, apologies.
I'd love to comment on that.
Deputy Leader and Executive Member for Resources and Reform and Management. I see the Council Lishman isn't here, so who's going to do the report? We read the report, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Lishman had to leave for a family commitment, so unfortunately, I'm having to move this report. She did ask me to draw members' attention to PL10, the first 2 paragraphs there, the one around the funding applications for Phase 4 of the public sector decarbonisation scheme for Prairie Sports Village and Calder House, and that they've been successful, and grant offer letters have been signed and returned, and the project must be delivered by March 28. And then the other one, again, something that she's really, really proud of, is that the council has been awarded a Gold Carbon Literate Organisation Award at the award ceremony in Manchester on the 12th of June. and we're just we're just the second local authority in the UK to achieve this accreditation. I believe we were the first, but Manchester got announced before us, but that's just me. But there will be a press release and photo going out. So, as I said, it's something that we're really proud of. With regards to the financial questions, what I will say is that if any members have got any questions around that, if you can, by all means, you can ask them tonight, but I might not have the answer because it was only literally landed on me 5 minutes ago. So if you've got any questions, please put them in writing and I will ensure that Councillor Lishman gets back to you. Thank you.
Are there any questions on the report? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, for either yourself or for Councillor Lishman, I do apologise. I fully intended to submit this to her in advance and I just ran out of time to do so. So I apologise that this hasn't been submitted in advance. And I fully expect I'll get back to you. But that aside, it's just on page 125, PF 18. It refers to, there's a team looking into the promotion of downtown. Now, downtown, fantastic facility for a lot of people in the town, helps out lots and lots of people. And I'm just wondering why that promotion is needed. Is it a case that there's been a downturn in the use of it? Or is it a case that we feel that there's more people within the borough that might not know about it that would benefit from it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Lewis, and I might be wrong here, but I think what that's referring to is that this is encouraging young people to consider a career in local government and getting them involved in making them aware of what downtown offers. So, as I say, I will pass that question on to Councillor Lishman, but it's about, and even if it was about promoting what we do, I think the more people that can be directed towards, who are in need and can be directed towards downtown, and not just in terms of some of the support, but also some of the agencies that work in there, the better, because it's something I think the Deputy Prime Minister picked up on as well as an example of great practice that other areas, and I know that the chair of the LGA, when she visited, she was blown away by the work that downtown do and how we pulled that together as a council with partners. So again, something to be proud of. But I will get Councillor Lishman to provide you with a proper answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anwar. I've got a question myself regarding the World Opportunity Fund. Can you clarify, is it true that existing groups cannot apply, or can they apply?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Page 126, so page 126, PF 19.
Yeah.
The WOF.
The WOF funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your question was that existing groups can't apply?
Yeah, either they can't apply or can they apply for the WOF funding?
Yeah. I've not seen anything or heard anything to say that existing groups, because I would have thought that would be the purpose of the WOF funding is to work with existing groups that are in our communities so that we can help them and deliver activity in our wards. So, yeah, they should be able to apply. But again, I will check that with the officers, and I think the key thing here is the criteria has actually been, guidance and criteria has been sent out to all members, so you should have that, but I would imagine that it's not just for new groups. Thank you, Mr.
Any other questions? Any observations? No observations. Community Environmental Services, Councillor Baker, will you please move your report at page 128 of the agenda?
I so move, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, my apologies to Councillor Baker for not submitting these questions in advance. I forgot. So, starting with PL for page 128, waste and cleansing tender. So the waste and cleansing contract is one of the highest contract value arrangements that this council enters into, and it impacts every single street, every single household. I know that last year there was an executive decision to delegate this tender to yourself and the lead official only. and to make that decision purely on economic grounds with no qualitative measures. Do you have any plans to consult with members of this council or scrutiny prior to making a final decision, bearing in mind the changes that will be implemented, especially regarding food waste and changes in infrastructure arising from our new waste services strategy? Thank you. And then I don't know if you want me to carry on. Do you want me to carry on? I've got a couple more. Thank you. I did apologise in advance. Sorry, Councillor Baker. Okay. Mobile CCTV trailer. So I think I'm on the same point, but page 129. Welcome that, obviously, but through a scrutiny review group last year on fly tipping, we were previously told that the biggest problem with fly tipping for this council remains to be side weights and not bulky items. So is this still the case with bulky waste items being tipped not being our biggest issue? And if so, is the council reviewing its efforts to promote recycling to residents in areas that still have the smaller boxes and bags to reduce that household side waste? Tell me if you'd like me to shut up and give you a break, but I can carry on. Page 130, same PL. Just on the fixed penalty notices that were issued. Quick question on that one. Aside from the joint operation with the police, is there a reason that the fly tipping FPNs reduced so much in May in comparison to April from 26 to 8? And then oh, no, I've got two more, sorry. Next one is I join with your thanks to Superintendent Derek Croken on page 131. I thought this presentation was really useful at scrutiny. Are there any plans to share that presentation with all councillors? So I know there'll be councillors in this chamber that didn't get to see that who would be interested. Yeah. Are there any plans to share his presentation with all councillors who aren't in scrutiny so that everybody can see how useful that was, especially on response times, police targets, what you can expect when you actually call the police out? And then lastly, I'm on PF20, page 132, bulky waste collections. I'm glad to see that the bulky waste has come right down to 7 days. I think that's great. But I would like to ask if the council are now doing anything to promote this service, like promote that it is now speedier and you can get a collection within 7 days, to encourage and improve that uptake and bring in extra revenue, given that we put money into it at the budget. I'm just thinking if people have previously tried to book and it's been 4 weeks, they might not look again and see that it's now not. So are we doing anything to promote that we can now get a collection within 7 days? You'll be glad to know I'm done, Councillor Baker. Thank you.
Councillor Baker, before I bring anyone back in, I will allow you to answer all those questions.
I'll just go with those 300 questions first, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I should have been standing there. I do apologise to you. Right, well, oh my God. I would have appreciated it if you'd asked me before, because it would have given you a little time to write some answers down instead of trying to figure out what we are doing, but I would do my best for you. I lost a bit at the beginning because I have some side notes here, but they don't have the page numbers on them, so I lost a little bit there. The waste and cleaning tender, there is no plans to come back to scrutiny or anyone else on that. They'll be informed when we have made a final decision and people have been notified, etc. So the decision will have been made in line with the procedure that the full council agreed. The time to obviously say bring it back to scrutiny was earlier, and so we want it back, but that would have delayed it a lot. So no, the short answer is no, it won't be coming back to scrutiny. You'll be able to scrutinise the decision after by all means, but it will be a bit too late for the tender process, I'm afraid. So that's that one. CCTV. Thank you. I love the train, grammar school, that Mark. Right. It's going on. It should be out soon. Now, I missed a bit about what you're on about really with the fly tipping side of it. It will be put out and hopefully we'll be able to spot fly tippers and things like that. May she repeat a question, Mr. Mayor? Would you mind if she does?
Pardon?
Would you mind, would you mind if you repeat the question to me on that, because I lost the
Thank you. So it was that through a scrutiny review group on fly tipping last year,
Yeah.
we were told that the biggest problem with fly tipping for the borough isn't bulky waste, it's side waste.
Right.
Is that still the case, that bulky waste isn't our biggest issue? Obviously, I welcome the CCTV trailer to the rural areas. But if so, if it is still the bulky waste, is the council reviewing its efforts to promote recycling to residents in the areas that still have the small bins and bags to prevent the side waste fly tipping issue?
You're all
Thank
right.
you.
I got stuck on the CCTV. I was coming on to side waste and bulky waste after, but I thought I must have missed something on the CCTV bit that we've got. Side waste, fly tipping, solid, hard fly tipping, dumping stuff. The number of incidents is obviously a much lot less than side waste and bulky waste. That's all that means. In terms of value and irritation, I can't give you an answer on that tonight, sort of thing, on that bit. But bulky items, I was pleased to note that it's got down to 7 days again. Now, amazingly enough, I did a calculation of putting the extra person on, how long it would take. And I said it will take about 4 weeks exactly to get down to just where we should have been. And it has come out like that. So that's why that's going on. I'm frustrated at the National Health Service and things like that, why they can't think ahead and shove extra evidence in there, catch up on the thing, and then with enough doctors to keep up with what we're doing, but not catch up. But that's another problem, not my problem. Side waste. Side waste isn't a massive problem in terms of that. There's not a lot of it, because most people have got used now to putting it in the bins. And the bins are a lot, not bigger, but they're much better used than what they used to, because we now look after it and recycle more. So that's not too bad on that side of it. I'm waffling a bit, because if I'm honest about it, because I've not got that. If you'd give me that, I'd have put it back to the staff for clarification. FPNs, fixed penalty notices. I think, sorry, covering my microphone there. I think the thing on, you were asking about fly tipping, why there was 26 issued in April and only 8 in May. It's not really relevant to the month. We're not that quick. It doesn't work like that. We have an incident reported and it takes a few weeks to investigate and so on. So they don't all come within a week's period of being noted. So that's the only thing on that bit. That's it basically on that side of it. Nobody's. I'll shoot myself in the foot, but I won't, so I'll shut up about the next bit I was going to mention, which you didn't. Right, sharing the data. Now that comes, what was that on the community place? Oh, sorry. Community and antisocial behaviour. Was that what we were after? Just guide me a little there, if you can. Where you're looking on there? Where's scrutiny mentioned?
Sorry,
You have already had the question, Councillor
Yeah, I'll come back to you. That's the simple answer, because Rob over there is making notes, and he'll do. Yeah, okay. Bulky waste promotion. Do we want more of it? But that's out of our hands, I'm afraid, on bulky waste promotion. We don't want more bulky waste, but we're led by the fact that if people change their carpet or they change the fridge or there's something else, that generates a bulky waste thing. So if you're pushing capitalism, opposition to the normal Labour policy of let's refine and spend more money, and that would lead to it. But we're not planning on promoting it as such anymore. It's working well the moment, so I don't really expect what a promotion would achieve. But again, if you could email me that with your thoughts, I'll listen and put it back to the head of street scene and see what we can do. And that's probably about the best I can do for you off the top of my head, I'm afraid, Gemma. But it's a pleasure to see this new system working where Gemma or Councillor Haig is asking the questions rather than poor Mark having to do it all. So it's a nice change. I hope Mark's enjoying his rest. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Before I carry on, I'm giving Councillor Haig benefit of the doubt here. Are there any limits to the number of questions people can ask him or can that time they want to? Okay.
Well, kind of, but I don't think that it can ask for clarifications throughout the process, which is.
Oh, thank you, Secretary. Are there any other questions on Councillor Baker's report? Any observations? Councillor Sean Sproul?
It's a number of things. Really good to see that the book waste is down to 7 days. Didn't believe you could do it, I'll be honest, so that's nice to see. The other thing is about the, we taking the trailer out and going in specific wards and doing work. Number of things that I've found about that. Firstly, and this is not a dig at any particular officer, but please park the trailer in the ward we're meant to be covering rather than down the road, because that does make a difference, as I found out for us, because I dealt with quite a few bank hall questions rather than just the brunch ones. But for me, I want to put thanks out to the street team guys, Mick and I can't remember the guy in the van, the amount of rubbish and the support they offered to the communities on behalf of the council on the day for us in particular was fantastic. So if there's any way we can get thanks back to that team, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor Townsend?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's really an observation in response to Councillor Baker's response to Councillor Haig about the waste and cleansing the new contract. I must admit, I must have been either asleep or on holiday last October, I think, when this was going through executive, or I would have tried to, I think, challenge the level of scrutiny that was going to be given to this new contract, because it just seemed to go through, when I'm now retrospectively going back, it just seems to have gone through scrutiny and basically just be delegated to yourself, well, to the head of street scene and yourself as a consultee. And this affects 40-odd thousand households, every one of our constituents. And in the past, every time we've renewed this contract, we have gone through a process of really scrutinising and trying to have the widest member participation, I think, that we could have. Because it only happens really every 5, 6 or 7, 7, 8 years. So I'm disappointed that you're not intending, well, you're only intending coming back to us after you've made the decision and you tell us what's happening. As an observation, I just hope you reconsider that and try and engage members a little more through the process. I know the executive have made a decision, but perhaps at least an informal consultation offline with members about what the key aspects are. And I'm disappointed that the decision actually does say that it's just going to be awarded on economic grounds. It doesn't mention anything about qualitative standards that are going to be achieved. And that's not to say that we're not going to be looking at them, but the decision is clear. So I do hope that you come back to members on this. Thank you.
Are you okay for one more, Councillor Baker? Councillor Ambler?
Observation. It's according to the habit standing up. Right. Just for Councillor Baker, I think it's absolutely fantastic that as an administration, one of the things that we brought back as a council, or brought in as a council, is the ward engagement days. I think they've gone really, really well across the wards that I've attended, popped in at the one at Trinity, popped in at the one at Stonyholme, and they're going really, really well. But what I would ask is that officers might, from time to time, might make a mistake, and I think just to feed back to them that the work that they do, particularly our street scene team, are second to none, and they work extremely hard and they're absolutely fantastic. And so it's disappointing then that when you find that members have had a go at young junior staff on these engagement days. And I remember turning up to the one at Bruncher where young member of staff was quite upset. And I think it's important that we treat all of our staff, irrespective of the position that they have within the authority, treat every single one of them with respect. And actually recognise the fantastic work that they do as well. And I'd like you to pass that on, Councillor Baker, to all the staff, particularly the street scene team. I don't like to pull out any teams, but I do think they do an absolutely fantastic job in really challenging circumstances. So, thank you.
Councillor Begg would like to respond.
Thank you, Councillor Anwar, for that. Going back to the ward that you're talking about there, I know there was a mistake between Bruncher and Bankhall and it ended up in the wrong place. And I don't think there's anybody more upset than the street scene team that it seemed to have gone the wrong way. It won't happen again. That's all I can say to that. They've assured me of that. And it was still well received. Whoever saw them, and everybody's pleased to see them and have a chat about it. And I've been out a couple of times with the thing, with the show, whatever we call it, and it's been very well received. It's been brilliant here. That's for you. Councillor Towns. I'll be honest, I tend to agree with him on that one, because I remember being on scrutiny when we got the last Bassa, as it was in those days, came along and stood at the beginning. We went through it, we went through that. Now, that hasn't happened this time, but the council made the decision as the way to do it. Now, it's like everything else. You've got to read the council papers, see what's coming up, and then, you know, if we're going to say to full council, we're going to leave it up to the head of street team in collaboration with the executive member to determine it, then that's the way it's being done. It didn't say anything about bringing it back to scrutiny for perusal or anything else like that. So it's not, I don't think it has been chosen purely on economic grounds. That's, sorry, can you hear me, Susan? Sorry. Ah.
The microphone is on, the fan, which is...
There's only one showing up. Yeah, sorry, Stu. I lost my thread a bit there now. Although it said on economic grounds, it's not just economic grounds, it's also the method of doing it, the way they're doing it, the promises they've made to, and the way to achieve it, etc. So it won't be the cheapest quote necessarily, but it won't be the dearest quote on the other section either. So it's one that's been gone into very thoroughly. And the team in street scene with Joanne and Tom, Ormerod, etc., are unbelievable on the way they've gone into it. And it's exactly the same way as they did the one that was presented to scrutiny. I remember a Bassa coming along in those days with a plan where they'd actually digitise the whole of the town to work out the best routes and everything. And I was well impressed with it 8 years ago now, I think it is. So it will be a decision that's been made, that's for sure. But by all means, scrutiny can look at it. It's like, unfortunately, like anything else, it might be a little bit too late to scrutinise and say, well, we wish you'd done that, but let us see what develops with it. I don't think you'll be disappointed, that's all I can say. Okay, thank you.
I wasn't. Okay then, thank Councillor Baker. Members, given the time now and the amount of business remaining, this evening I wish to move a motion under Council Procedure Rule 13, motion without notice L, that the meeting continues beyond 3 hours in duration so that this meeting can continue beyond 9:30. Mr Deputy Mayor, will you second that motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour? Are any against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried for the extension until end of business.
Pardon? So, development and growth, Councillor Lubna Carr, will you please move your report at page 134 of the agenda pack?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mindful of the time, there was many parts of this that I wanted to pick up on, but I am mindful of the time. So I just want to present my report tonight, reserve the right to speak. In particular, I would just like to highlight a few key points. There's many good news stories in my report, but in particular, the usage of the UKSPF funding. We've actually been doing making a lot of headway. And one of the programs that particularly is working well is the Work Well program. We have, this council has a lot to be proud of. We've overachieved on our targets, so much so that other boroughs are looking at how we work and asking for advice and support on that. And that is an indication of the strength of our partnerships and how well we see when we put our mind to something, we do it really well. I would like to obviously also draw attention to the Future Leaders Programme, where Lord Khan from Burnley was on the 25th of June, was able to receive young people and had a bit of support and influence them. And on behalf of Burnley in Westminster. So again, something really notable. Finally, as I always like to mention Padiham, because I do always think it's nice to mention Padiham, given that a lot of good things do happen there. We had Maze painting in Padiham, which was a great success. And obviously Padiham on Parade took place in June. And that was a popular 1940s weekend with vintage entertainment and reenactments and community stalls. So lots of good stuff happening in my report. I look forward to any questions and any observations. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions? Councillor Sue Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Khan. It's page 137, PR 15, relating to Burnley Town Centre. Since the appearance of the scaffolding around the Kirby Hotel, there's been a lot of speculation in the local press and media, social media, about the future of the Kirby Hotel. Can the exec member update the council on what is proposed and what the likely timescales are, please? Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I think if I'd had the question with a bit of with a bit of notice, I might have been able to answer that better. I'm not sure what I know that there's been these rumours. I'm really not sure how to answer that without giving incorrect information. So I'm aware of the rumours as well. I don't know if there's any more to add to that, so I wouldn't like to give you any misinformation. I can send you an email, Councillor Graham, and let you know if that's okay with your good self.
Any other questions? Any observations? Housing, health. Councillor Lewis, I didn't actually see that. No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just an observation on page 138, which is PR 15, just about Painting Padiham and Padiham on Parade, both great events. I had the pleasure to present the awards for Painting Padiham, which was a great day. And also just in reference to the candle shop that's recently reopened. It's a fabulous shop. They're going from strength to strength there. I've had a few chats with the gentleman that's running it. He's really loving Padiham. He's looking to expand. He's opening another shop elsewhere now as well because of the success he's had in Padiham. And also in relation to that, I just want to thank council officers who helped to rearrange the placement of the commercial bin that was around there, because it briefly had to be right outside his shop, and they all agreed to move that. So I'd like to thank officers for being able to do that, which has helped the business there. Thank you.
Are there any other observations? Councillor Lubna-Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo what Councillor Lewis has just said. congratulations on giving them awards, and I think it's probably one of the nicer parts of the job. But yeah, brilliant work all round. Well done to everybody involved and the officers. Thank you.
Housing, Health and Culture, Councillor Lorna, will you please move your report at page 143 of the agenda?
I move my report, Mr Mayor, and would just like to say a few words. The event at Townley Hall was a really proud moment and it looks fantastic. So for any councillor that didn't attend, please go and support it. On the day, I did bring a representative from the Arts Council who had a good look around the grounds and venue, and will bring ideas to the table of how we can put exhibitions and hopefully have some music that's fitting for the hall in the future. I'd also like to appeal to all members to take back to their residents that the Year of Culture 2027 is about them. So please bring any ideas or anything to me and the team at Burnley Leisure and Culture, including Charlotte Steeles, to see what we can achieve here in Burnley 27 and what kind of art and what kind of music and whatever you have in your mind that you'd like to see that year. And maybe the video that they've just released will inspire you to see just how much is going on. The HAF programme is running for the summer holidays, which is a great thing. And I wanted to just point out that Burnley Leisure and Culture's membership is up. I accept we still have a lot of challenges in health and in homelessness, and along with Burnley Together and Lancashire County Council, who I'm meeting in August, we'll be having more discussions around that, and I welcome the vote on the youth tonight, because I really do feel that if we can get on top of our antisocial behaviour and a lack of things to do and a lack of joy within the town centre in the evenings, perhaps we can save money on ambulances, fire service, policing, that will more than double the amount of money we'll save on having these activities. So I'll take any questions. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Councillor Barton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is page 147, PE3. The data that has been provided regarding food parcel distribution, the reduction in that is supplemented by the information about the community grocery usage. There's only 1 year's worth, the current year's worth of data here, and it would be really great if in future we could have comparison data as we see in the paragraph above, so we can see how those figures are changing from both angles. Thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Page 154, it's right at the end of the report. Just on the Padiham Greenway, obviously it's welcome that work is going to start on the bridge. That is really welcome, but I'm sure you'll be aware that although there is some funding for that work, it is not enough to fully complete all the works that they are hoping to do to repair that bridge. And I was just wondering if there can be any looking into by the council into what funding streams that they can access to help Sustrans get that bridge completed fully. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can you take a couple of more? Councillor Graham. Councillor. Yeah.
You mean, yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Lorna. It's page 146 at the bottom regarding the damp and mould project, PE3. Yeah. The work of the damp and mould project and the damp and mould officer is very much welcome and very much appreciated. But I do find it quite worrying that 5 years after the death of Awab Ishaq in Rochdale, so many reports of damp and mould are being brought to this council's attention. Awab was 2 years old when he died due to prolonged exposure to damp and mould in a social housing home. Awab's law is to come into force on October 27th this year, and this requires social landlords to promptly investigate and repair and respond within a fixed timeline. Yeah. There are currently around 6,500 socially rented properties across Burnley and Paddingham. So just 2 points really. Can members be confident that social landlords operating in Burnley and Paddingham are aware of these requirements and are ready to meet their obligations? And number 2, can you assure social housing tenants in Burnley and Paddingham that the council will have a zero tolerance policy towards social landlords who fail to meet the requirements of the legislation? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McGowan, Councillor, are you okay to come? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we'll get back to you on that, Councillor Barton, and I think it's a good idea. Councillor Lewis, I will talk to Simon Goff around what funding streams might be available and get back to you on that, if that's all right. And in terms of the zero tolerance, of course, I have zero tolerance for that. And I was at a Care England event over the last 48 hours looking at new products that are coming on the market. One of them is a special dehumidifier that's been put onto the market over the next couple of years. And there's also antibacterial paint that is on the market that I've introduced to the council. But also we've put more resources. We have an extra member of the team looking at this, but it will be a real problem here. And you can never 100% say you're going to get it right all the time, but as an executive, we are committed to stamping this out, and I'll do everything I can to do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take some more questions.
Councillor Jamie McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is page 152, PL9. It's just about the Fennyfold changing rooms. It's happening. Met with Simon and Kieran and also Rob, and actually spoke about the timescales, which is really good. So I just wanted to get your backing on it, really. I presume you'll have had a hand in it anyway. But we've had promises now of design works by August, and then depending on how the teams want to go ahead with it, completing mid-season or at the end of the season. The football teams I've spoken with have said mid-season, so it's all hands on deck. And I just didn't want to take the foot off the gas because we want to see it happen this year. So I just wanted, very briefly, to say, will you back us on it? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Don Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am going to be as quick as possible here. PL9, page 152, it's regarding the playing pitch and outdoor strategy. I would just like to ask if you'd be willing to meet myself and other concerned parties regarding the use of the Racker off Ighton Road at Whitfield and Ighton Hill to discuss what opportunities are available for that area. I've had 2 plans drawn up by council officers already for something there, but I'd like to meet you in person there so that with the other concerned parties to discuss that further. That's my first question, if you would be willing to do that. My second question is regarding, it's on page 153, again, PL9, regarding off-road bikes. It's great to see that this off-road motorcycle nuisance is taking place in Burnley, South-West. Could I ask you to consider also expanding that to Burnley Central West, to the wards of Whitfield, Ighton Hill, Ganna, and basically going up all the way up to the Gorfup area as well. We've had a lot of problems with off-road motorcycles over a long, prolonged period, and I'd like you to consider that. Would you be willing to do that, please? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for those questions. The answer is yes. I will keep my eye on Fennyfold, and as you know, I'm a football fan, so I'm totally in favour of that. Councillor Whittaker, yes, I'll come out and visit you. And just send me over 3 dates, and I'll pick one of them, if that's all right. And to the second one, yeah, we have the same problem in Townley Park and people coming in, and I've had a meeting with Simon around this and told him, so I'll try and get that. But we've only got so much resource, as you probably know. So we've got to keep moving it around to make sure we catch. I'm hoping one day we'll be able to have a drone that can take pictures and then we rely on the public, don't we, for that information of who's doing it, and then the police can do their job, as you well know. So thanks very much for your question.
Are there any observations, Councillor Haig? Only one, Councillor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. PL9, page 151, play strategy. Just an observation on councils refurbishing play areas, looking at new schemes with Section 106 funding. Last year, I had the pleasure to meet with ESP Play, business in Burnley that you probably know of, and read their Play Gap report in what local authorities can do and have done in other areas to make play areas more accessible to children and make sure that they're getting more active rather than waiting their turn on things and making them more usable. So I basically just want to encourage you to read that report if you haven't. I'm more than happy to email it to you, and to ask the council when doing that to consider how we can make our play areas more active and more accessible, especially for children who may not be as able-bodied as others. Thank you.
Councillor Anwar. Observations, yeah.
Just wanted to bring attention to the interfaith cricket match that took place between the Lancashire Council Mosques and the diocese just on Monday night. And I'd like to thank, and it took place at Padiham Cricket Club. And that suffered obviously that antisocial behaviour with the pitch that was wrecked. And we're grateful to the cricket club giving us access to those facilities so that we could, one, showcase cricket, but also unite our communities as well. And I'd like to thank the Mayor of Padiham for coming along and showing his support as well, but it just shows how we can unite our communities through that. And I know that earlier on, Councillor Townsend mentioned about the contribution that is made in making this town a better place, and the organisation of Building Bridges Burnley played a vital role in that over the past 22, 23 years, and bringing people together through sport has been a key element of that. So as I said, thank you. If you could, Councillor Lewis, pass our thanks on from Building Bridges and the Lancashire Council Mosques to Padiham Cricket Club for allowing us use of their facilities. But again, it shows how sport and leisure is doing wonders, not just in terms of from a health point of view, but also in uniting our communities as well. Thank you.
Before bringing Kelly Ishak, can we remind members on observations to make sure that their observations are not questions disguised as observations? Councillor Ishak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want the Executive Member, Councillor Owner, to pass on thank you to Cemetery Manager and Simon Goff for the allocation of cemetery for the Muslim community. It was a long-standing issue. I've been working on this issue for many, many years, and the current site was coming to capacity. The site that was allocated had issues, as you know, with the water and so forth, but I'm so pleased the office has found a solution to allocate the adjacent plot, and that's gone down really well with the Muslim community. So I would want you to personally thank them from myself and the rest of the Muslim community. Thank you.
Can you do one more observation? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's PL9, page 152 again. I just want to express my thanks to the Council and the English Lawn Tennis Association, effectively. Been fighting for a long time to get those tennis courts up Ightenhill Road, resurfaced and repaired, etc. I just want to say they've done an absolutely fantastic job. It's going to benefit not only the residents of Whitfield and Ightenhill, but Ghana and the surrounding area. I think they've done magnificent with it, and I'm also pleased that the council have agreed to refurbish the basketball court next door to that as well. Looking forward to that. I'm hearing it's going to be in September, so I've just wanted to express my thanks for that being concurred. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor, you do with one more. Councillor Jim McGavin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is PL9, page 154. One of the first issues I actually raised when I was elected wasn't in this chamber, but in the mechanics, because that's where we were while this was being done up. And it was about the Greenway Bridge. And I'm very happy to see that there's been progress on it. It's taken a while. I know residents just want access back to it. But having raised it in the mechanics, having raised it in here, having met with Sustrans, having met with the Coal Authority, and pushed as hard as I can in my role as a local councillor. And I always said, you know, I can't fix it, but I'll do what I can to raise the issue and try and get a resolution for it. That I'm really happy to see that by the autumn, works will start, and then people can actually start getting to work and using it just for leisure purposes, which is what they just wanted, really. So it was what we all wanted. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Lorna.
Thanks for all those observations. And yeah, ESP, great company. And I think they fixed the Townley playground when it was unfortunately vandalised. So again, a big thanks to them. And I really enjoy meeting them and will take anything on board that they say, because the design of that is fantastic. We'll pass on your comments about the cemetery. Great to hear about the tennis. Hopefully we can produce another Andy Murray an Andy Murray from Burnley, but I don't know any basketball players, but there you go. Did I forget one? Oh, the cricket match. I don't know who won, but fantastic. Great work. And I wish I'd gone along. Thanks very much. Was there anything? It went to like the India game. Is there anyone else I've missed? Oh, thanks very much, everybody.
Item 9, questions on the standing order 10.2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. None have been received, Mr. Mayor, under Standing Order 10.2. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes the business for tonight's very lively meeting.
Members of the council, ladies and gentlemen.